Welcome everybody back to part 2 of my interview with Wendy Jennings. I have to apologise because the part 1 we had some technical problems, and we're going to come now together to finish off the interview because Wendy has so many interesting aspects that I think you'll benefit from. She can share them with us, so I'm very excited and grateful, Wendy, because that was disappointing, but now we're moving on. So part 2, I'd like to just review for the viewers. Basically, so Wendy experienced a great loss in her life, and her parents passed on, and this promoted her to find a new lifestyle, and she started journaling and traveling, and off she went to Australia. She went to find herself. She found love in this country before she went, and she still went, and she had a marvelous time out there, and the journals helped her to recover from that catastrophe. And more than that, when Jenny went around Australia and her mind opened up and she had these wonderful experiences and the love of her life joined her, then everything bloomed and blossomed for her. And then when she returned to the UK, we benefit because Wendy wrote a beautiful book, and this is a Coddiwomple book. So Wendy, can you just tell us a little bit about your book again briefly, just to recap what we did? Yes.
Yeah,
the Coddiwomple lady.
The Coddiwomple lady was born. Yeah. Well, the Coddiwomple lady came after the book, to be honest with you, because what happened was when I was in Australia and I was traveling around, my friend found this wonderful word Coddiwomple, which means to travel in a purposeful direction towards a vague destination. And she just said, "When this is just so you." And it's just, I just love the word. And yeah, I was keeping these journals mainly for myself to remind me of, because you always forget when you go on a trip, you forget bits, don't you? So I wanted something to remind me myself, and also I wanted to keep some blogs going for friends and family back home, back in the UK when I was in Oz. And then when I got back, I was persuaded to turn it into a book, and hence From Cancer to Coddiwomple was born. This is what Coddiwomple looks like.
That's a lovely image of your parents.
It's got mum and dad on it, and it's got Ayers Rock on it.
Yeah.
And an old picture of me on the back. We'll ignore that.
But it was a very significant time in your life that you didn't anticipate, and within months, really, your life had been turned upside down.
Within 9 months.
Yeah, and so one of the reasons that I wanted you to come and share your story is because you're an epitome of a lot of the women that I work with, where they are either thrust into a life change or they feel a desire in themselves that things have to change. And either way, it's quite difficult when you're set in your ways, when you're a little bit older, you've got a lot of life experience, but sometimes the knocks or the tiredness, menopausal symptoms, they can weaken our morale and our determination to move forward. So what I love about your story, Wendy, is that you traversed those emotions and came out with something beautiful. So this idea of Coddiwomple interests me, and I'd love you to share more with that. So can I ask you then, okay, so we covered the book in part 1. What now? What are you Coddiwompling now, or are you not? Are you respiting? I'm sure you're very busy. What's happening with you?
Life really is a constant Coddiwomple. We are all on a constant Coddiwomple because we all head forwards. I think I touched on this in part 1, that we go forwards in this purposeful direction. What we think is a destination, but the destination keeps changing, the destination keeps moving, it becomes vague. So it's good to have an idea of what that destination is, but it's also good to go with the flow, and we can go off piste sometimes. So I would say my Coddiwomple now is still the same Coddiwomple, but it's an expansive Coddiwomple. It just spans the whole time. My word for this year was expansion, and that's basically what my constant Coddiwompling now is all about. It's expanding. You know, as we grow older, we're going menopausal. I mean, I've gone from relatively normal past year to turning into a scabby, itchy, eczema covered, yucky, screaming banshee harpy, discovering HRT and going, all is well. So all is well. So yeah, I just went. I'd say going on HRT. I call it going supersonic because it just sorted me out. It was just amazing. So I've been on it now since November. And it's
so you see menopause itself as a kind of Coddiwomple.
Menopause, it is
side of the actual finish, and that's a terrific journey for women. But it's not everything. And I love this idea that you expanded from that, the sense of expansion. How have things grown for you then?
It's just how things have changed. It's just how things have. I mean, I'm not focusing on just one thing at the moment. I'm very much just putting myself out in flow, rather than thinking, right, that's what I'm going to do, and chase, and tying myself up in knots because I'm not getting to where I want to be soon enough. I've very much decided that I'm just saying, right, okay, universe, this is what I want. I want to be, I put out there how I want to be. I want to be financially independent and all this kind of thing, and happy, healthy, all that kind of stuff, and just put it out there and just like guide me to where you want me to be, because sometimes what I think I need isn't what is right for me. So sometimes I think I've learned that just to sort of take a step back and just say, bring it on. It eases my anxieties. I'm reading some notes here, but it does it eases that anxiety of having to push and that need to achieve and that need to do something. It's just it just takes that pressure off.
I find with a lot of the women that I work with, the one of the issues is they're not ready for the slowdown of middle age to old age. Like they're not ready for that, and there's this tremendous guilt that they shouldn't sit down, that they shouldn't stop, that they shouldn't give up, that they shouldn't do a U-turn. They shouldn't put it on the back burner. And the pace of life really slows down whether we like it or not. And I think that's because that's where we find our wisdom.
Definitely. When you take a step back and you listen to your heart and you listen to your soul, that's when you find out what, for me, and I know for other women that I've met, that's where you get your answers. It's not just thinking when others, friends, family, husbands, wives, whatever, they try and think they're helping by imparting their model of the world on you, but that's their model of the world, not yours. So I've learned just to sort of think to myself, okay, things don't always work out. Things do always work out for the best, but they don't necessarily haven't necessarily worked out how I envisaged them to. But so
you sound like you have an overarching desire to grow and to achieve things, but you're not too concerned with how it manifests, how it gets there.
No. Or what I achieve either. It's very much like, well, okay, let's see what happens. I mean, I've got things that I do, which we'll talk about, and then
I was just going to mention your art. I think art can be like that, can't it? You have a canvas and some colours that you feel that you want to work with, or you have a scene or an object or something, some idea that you want to work with, but you never really know where it will end or if it'll even look like that.
No. And that's the thing, you get the idea of a picture in your mind and you think, oh, that's what I want it to. And once you let go of that, then you just let it evolve.
So tell me about your art then. So how did that manifest? Were you always doing art and painting, or is this something fresh and new?
I used to love it when I was a kid. My dad always painted. My dad was a fabulous watercolour painter. So art was always around in the background. He did it as a hobby as well. I mean, my parents' business was a trophy and engraving company. So it was very creative. Mum was creative in her own way. She liked sewing and doing things like that. But Dad was brilliant. He went to art school and printing and all that kind of thing. So yeah, he could just draw stuff and create stuff, and it was just like, oh my god. But I used to love it when I was a kid. I used to love sitting in the kitchen. Being an only child, I had to learn to amuse myself quite a lot, and I just used to sit in the kitchen when mum was doing her thing and draw birds or horses or just stuff, just draw. And then that was when I was sort of fairly quite young, and then get to teenage years and music happens. Boys growing up wanting to go out and do stuff, that happens. And then also at that point for us as a family, we were heavily involved with British motorsports, so motor racing happened for me in a big way as well. So it took me away from paints and pencils and paper and stuff like that. And then I started dabbling with it after mum and dad passed away in 2012. When I was clearing out the garage, I was clearing out dad's art materials. I found some acrylic paints that he hadn't used, and I thought, oh, I'll go with those. And I started down. I did a course down in when I lived in West Sussex. I did a sort of like a week's course kind of thing to learn how to use them properly. I thought, this is fun. I like these because you can make a mess, and if you make a mess, you can go over them. So they're quite forgiving. And yeah, I picked it up and dabbled a bit, and then then obviously I went traveling, and I did take a sketchbook with me, but I didn't really sketch that much. I didn't really do that much when I was traveling, but I did the writing instead. And then didn't really again do much with it. It was just sitting here, didn't really. I picked up a paintbrush occasionally, but didn't really. I mean, one picture took me about 8 months to draw paint because I just didn't do it properly. Well, not didn't do it properly, I just didn't give it time. And then 2020 happened, and this COVID malarkey, and we had lockdown, and I really I live about half an hour away from the Sussex coast, so going to Hastings or Rye for us is quite a normal thing to do, to go for a walk, and I really missed it. I just really missed going to the beach. So I thought, well, blow this, I've got paints upstairs. If I can't go to the beach has got to come to me. So I got on YouTube, and that followed a few tutorials, and decided that that's how I spent lockdown. It just grew from there, and I've become fairly addicted to it ever since.
Yes. You produced some very attractive pieces and some very inspiring pieces. Some of your techniques are intriguing, and they're very satisfying. So you've given a lot of pleasure to people. And I believe you auctioned one of your paintings for charity.
I did, yeah. I put one of them up for Target Ovarian Cancer last year for Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And I've actually got one on the bubble here at the moment of a sunflower that I may, if I am happy with it and can bear to look at it and think that it deserves the light of day, I might put it on some cards or something and raise some money for Ukraine. It's a sunflower field.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So
lovely. Yeah. It's such a beautiful symbol, isn't it? I love sunflowers.
Oh, I love sunflowers. They're my favourite.
I think we should paint sunflowers.
Everyone should, they're just such a happy flower, aren't they? It was going to be my logo, actually, beginning with Coddiwomple. Yeah. Feathers were more.
I think the thing with the sunflowers, it's very good for anyone who has low mental health, some depression, or not necessarily anxiety, but it is sunshine, but definitely for depression. And some of your scenes, your coastal views and your sunsets are very inspiring. So what's going to happen with this then? Because you're obviously very talented. People love your work. I've seen your work, and I think it's very good. So how do you on your Coddiwomple, are you developing this? Are you envisaging further? Obviously you said about cards for charity, but what about yourself?
For myself, I mean, I paint because I enjoy it. It's a kind of a therapy thing for me. I do it because I enjoy it, and if it brings other people pleasure at the same time, then that's a bonus for me, to be honest with you. I don't paint. I don't envisage setting up an art business as such. Because I don't want to happen is I do it because I have to do it. I do it because I want to do it, and I do it because I love it. And I mean, I do love where it takes me sometimes. I mean, I recently had last year I produced a sunflower field. Again, back to sunflowers.
I love that one.
And a friend of mine looked at it, and she said, "Oh, she's an interior designer," and she just said, When's that would look amazing on fabric and on lampshades. And that's sort of like,
Yes.
what?
Yes.
We had it printed onto fabric, and she produced it onto a lampshade. I would have shown you, but it's big. It's downstairs. It's big.
But it's a very unusual painting. It's not common the way you've styled it and the emotion it brings. It was a mishmash of
other. Yeah, it was just a mishmash of what other images I'd seen, and I just.
But it is stunning. Yeah.
It is. To be honest with you, it's one of my favourites. I'm very fond of it. I called it Field of Dreams, so I'm very fond of it. I really like it. So so that's that, and it's for me at the moment. I mean, I love watching tutorials, I find them very relaxing to watch. It's very therapeutic to watch, and I've been watching a load of ones to do with watercolour, and I love I'm learning the flow of watercolour, because with acrylic I've always painted quite tight to make it really detailed and perfect.
And that was always your work isn't fussy.
No, I'm not good at being fussy. So what I'm learning with watercolour is I love the looseness of it and the flow, and I also love working with watercolour pencils. And as I love drawing birds and wildlife and things, the two do gel really well, because you can still get those little details, but you can still be fairly loose with it as well. So following lots of tutorials on things like YouTube and Skillshare and things like that.
So I mean, I've seen some of your work, and you do post it on Facebook, etc., and social media. How do we get that out to other people then? How do you envisage this? Something that you keep personal, or is this something you'd like to share with the world?
I share it on, I tend to share it on my social media, mainly because as a record for myself of what I've done, because otherwise they get put in a cupboard and don't really look at them.
Wasn't that the idea of your journaling as well?
Yeah.
Capture your trip to Australia.
Exactly.
And from that came a book.
Exactly. So I don't have a goal or a vision as such of what I will do with my paintings. I sometimes do look at them and think, well, there's a body of work that's British birds, for example, that would make a nice set of cards later on, or something like that. But I don't set out to sit down and think, right, for the next few weeks I'm going to create a set of cards. I don't, because I might not want to paint another bird again for another 3 months or something.
I think it's nice to look at a body of work, to keep painting and expressing yourself, and then seeing how that can be shared, whether it's an exhibition or a book or through a social media platform.
If people see them on social media, on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, and if I get enough comments that make me think, oh, okay, that, if they say, oh, they'll make fabulous cards, or that would look amazing on a canvas, then I'll look into it and then work out how to market it. Because also what I'm also finding, I was going down the print on demand route, and that is actually quite expensive to do. So it's something that I do for me. And if somebody says, where can I get that? If somebody does come to me and ask me that, then we'll discuss it.
It's a real Coddiwomple, isn't it? Like you said in the beginning, a Coddiwomple is where you don't really have an aim or know what the outcome is going to be. But invariably there is an outcome, and you're lovely because you share that with people. I think for me, I because of the building, help trying to support other women that are going through similar things to what I've been through. I've got to be honest and authentic, and if I just sort of sit there trying to look all perfect all the time. the beauty of getting older is you don't worry about looking perfect anymore. You just be yourself. And I think if anybody's watching this, if you're a little bit tail end of 50, by the time you get to 60, you're well suited. You're great, you're happy with life.
Exactly. Sort of mid-50s at the moment, and I'm quite enjoying mid-50s.
I think people are happier.
Quite a good place to be.
But some people are lost, and I think that's because we tend to try, as women, we try to fit into what is expected of us. We feel guilty when we don't fulfill that, so that's part of the issue.
And I think because I sort of went through my transition in my mid-40s. I mean, I lost mum and dad 10 years ago this year, and I look back on the last 10 years and think, oh, okay, what that, I mean, because of what happened, focused my journey anyway. Just focused, I had to focus on me rather than thinking to myself, oh, what would mum and dad think?
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that anymore. So yeah, I've learned the journey that, or the Coddiwomple that I've been on, has very much taught me that it's okay to be who you want to be.
Yes.
It's comfortable for you.
Yes.
That, and if you're living your life precariously through what your partner thinks of you, your children think of you, your family thinks of you, your friends think of you, then you're not being you.
There's too many people trying to please, because we show different faces. I was very different when I was teaching to when I was at home in the weekends larking around with the kids. You know, so I always think women are diamonds. We're multifaceted.
Yes, definitely.
We achieve a lot, but we are multifaceted, and we're rainbows when all the light shines through us. But
we dazzle.
back to then, yeah, I love that analogy. But the idea of journaling. So journaling helped you through your Coddiwomple in Australia and through your the way you wrote the book and everything. So are you journaling alongside your artistic journey or your creative journey?
Yeah, I journal all the time. Basically, what I have, I've got a notebook that's on the go all the time, and it starts off I don't journal every day. I try to journal every day, but I don't beat myself up about it if I don't journal every day. But what I tend to do, how I tend to do it, is start off with 3 things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
Because if you wake up and you're just feeling bleh, if you get up and think, oh, so-and-so made me a cup of coffee this morning, that's great, that's something to be grateful for. Then you think, well, I've got a kettle downstairs to make that coffee, that's another thing to be grateful for. And I woke up in a nice warm bed, that's another thing to be grateful for. There's always, and that helps to shift my mood. And then I've also got some oracle cards, and I pick one of those for each day, and I write what that is, and then I just waffle. It's just a waffle. Because journaling for me is, it grounds me when my mind is too busy. It's my confidant when I want to have a mindless rant or a bitch or whatever. I don't know. It's a way of recording precious memories, like what was when I was traveling. And I just do it most days. It's just something that it helps me sort out a thought process as well. I mean, I'm also at the moment, at the time of this recording this interview, I'm looking for a tenant in my bungalow down in West Sussex, and I've been contemplating about what to do with that bungalow. So there's been lots of journaling around that, and working out the business, putting aside the business head and business brain against my empath brain. That's been interesting. So journaling out of that, and just the pages of waffle that have come out about that.
Don't you find that you get some inspiration? I find that when I'm writing, I'll say something, I think, oh, that's good.
Yes, definitely.
That's a quote.
Definitely, I can see that on a Facebook post kind of thing. Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's where I find social media really good, because if that happens to me, or somebody asks me a question that makes me think and formulate things, then I post it, because there's, like you say, there's a record already. You can't lose it. Because the worst thing is when you wake up and you have some tremendous thoughts first thing in the morning, and it's so wise, and so answers are there, and by the time you've had your breakfast, it's gone.
You've gone for that first weed, it's all gone literally down the toilet.
But of course, journaling then has a great value, doesn't it, for all of those reasons that you just said. But also, so I know some of the ladies that I work with, they want to be creative, and then they find their creativity, or they've always been creative and they finally have an outlet for it. But creativity is from inside us, and does all those things you said. And sometimes they want to write books, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you obviously is because you've written such a good book, a good read, because it's nice and solid and it's full of good things in there. So I see you as somebody who's fulfilling both things, the written word and the visual image, and with the heart behind it. or within it, I should say.
Art from the heart.
Yes, and I think a lot of women will relate to that.
I call them creative coddiwomples, to be honest with you. The art stuff is my creative coddiwomples.
Yeah.
Don't know where they're going to end up.
Would you recommend anybody else to do it? And have you got any top tips? Or
oh goodness, yeah, just go for it. Just have a go. It doesn't matter.
For it.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Don't go in. I would say don't go into it thinking you're going to produce something perfect straight away, because if you're want to write a book, believe me, and as you know, you write a draft. You write the thing and you think, yeah, that's it, and then you look at it again and then you do a draft, and then there's another draft, and then there's another draft before you actually get to something that you think, do you know what? But there'll always be something that you think that you can twitch and tweak and whatever. But no, don't be. Just do it. Just have some fun with it. Just pick up any old piece of paper and doodle. Just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you create. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you create something.
Yeah, I think what you're saying also is that don't compare yourself to other people. When I was young, because I didn't believe I could ever be a Michelangelo or somebody really excellent at the masters, I stopped. I deliberately stopped because, and I think whatever it had been, I would have stopped.
That's what I did as well. I think because Dad was such a brilliant watercolor artist, I thought, well, I could never be like him. And I thought, and it took me a long time to realize that it's okay to have my own style, not to follow his.
Yes.
Not to compare my work with his. That came up in counselling or coaching for me, I think. And I thought it was a real ping. There's no, don't compare, and just explore. If it's just something you think, do you know what, I quite like to have a go at this. It doesn't matter where you went. It doesn't matter if you don't actually do anything with it. It just have some fun with the process. Just see where it takes you.
A lot of people also say to me, I'm too old for that now, or I've missed my chances for young people. I can think of somebody I was talking to this week who has a brilliant business idea. Is very creative interior designer, and she just has written herself off to some extent, but she doesn't really want to be written off. She wants me to say, no, you can do it, and she wants the proof that she can do it, because inside she keeps feeling that she's missed the boat, that she should have done it sooner, and I don't get that sense with you at all. There's never a sense from you, Wendy, that I wished I'd done it sooner. It's all happened in the right flow, in the right time.
I think there's I always have that thing, oh God, this is really frustrating, I should have done this sooner. But no, things only happen when they're ready. Things only come to you to do. You're never given anything until you're ready to do it or embrace it. Is how what I believe.
I agree. Frustrating though it is, I agree.
It is frustrating. I mean, I look at things like I know when I was years ago when I was doing my massage therapy, for example, and I really wished that I'd explored more about the spiritual side of therapy 20 odd years ago. But then 20 odd years ago, it wasn't so out there. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't quite so open. And also I was a bit more closed. If I couldn't actually physically pummel somebody with my elbows or my fingers or whatever and tangibly push those muscles apart, I didn't get it. So Reiki, for example, I just didn't understand Reiki at all. How does that further? But now, oh my goodness, it's a very important part of my life. It found me when it was ready.
Yes, and that's another aspect, isn't it? That you are multifaceted in that you also have this healing aspect of your life as well.
I never wanted to give up therapy. When I had to give up massage, it was like, I thought, sad. But then, I found Reiki found me when I was in Bali, when I was traveling. So,
that's wonderful. Yeah. So this has been a really good interview. I really love the fact that you're so inspiring, that you're very easy to talk to. You've got this very strong but gentle flowing energy that's open and expansive. And I think that that may be your personality, but I feel that as we grow older, as we age, and we age gracefully and beautifully, or badly and sadly, whichever we do, we do mellow, and we have the opportunity to dip into ourselves and to be ourselves. So
it's interesting you say
very
that.
uplifting.
Yeah, thank you. But it's interesting what you say about how we age. We mellow gladly, but I also know of a lady who's a few years older than me, whose life hasn't quite worked out as she planned, as she'd hoped, and she's so sad and so bitter and so angry. And I just feel that, oh, it's just sad, because if she just let go, and she's not happy with for other people that have achieved what she's wanted to achieve. Her best friend got married a few months ago, and she can't be happy for her, and I just think that's so sad.
I meet people like that. I meet less of them because I think we live in a wonderful age. I mean, my grandparents, my grandmothers and my mother and my aunts, etc., did not have the opportunity to pick up if they wanted to play a piano, or if they wanted to take a hairdressing course in their 50s. These opportunities were not available. Whereas now, the ethos is that, you can be yourself. And of course, there's a whole community. I always say to younger people, but you grow old with your community. We age together. And so there's always people around you that will understand you and be with you. Even if you're 90 these days, we're going to still have these little groups.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is longevity. So, the only things that stop us often are resources and restraints or constraints on commitments. But as we let go of one, piece by piece, we can move forward. And so it's just very enlightening and uplifting to hear your story. And I would hope that I hope that one day you'll produce another book that Coddiwomple.
I never say never. I never say never. I have thought about producing a Coddiwomple companion.
Well, it may be smaller.
Yes, it will be smaller. Definitely smaller. But yeah, more about my journey with the journey of how you can change and sort of how you can Coddiwomple as well. Looking at your goals, looking at your beliefs, and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
I think that's it. Where you are a coach and a therapist, you have that ability now to help other women, other people find their Coddiwomple and be truly the Coddiwomple lady. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wendy. So that's great. Would you like to give everybody your contact details? Because I'm sure some people would love to find out more about your book and about your artwork, and just generally perhaps follow you on social media.
Yeah, social media bit's easy. Coddiwomple lady. So that's Facebook and Instagram. That's just general chit chat and bits and pieces about art. It could be coaching. That's just Coddiwomple lady stuff about the book. The book, the hard copy book, is available from my website, the Coddiwomple lady. There is a link to an ebook on there, but I'm not sure the link's working properly at the moment. So do check that first. And what else is going on? Yeah, Reiki. You can find me again with Reiki with Wendy Jennings. That's on Facebook and Instagram. And that's where I'm working around I tend to work around Hawkhurst area, where I live now, Hawkhurst in Kent. So you can contact me for that. And and other than that, it's website.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And Coddiwomple is a double D.
Coddiwomple, Coddiwomple.
Yeah, Coddiwomple. I love it.
Makes people smile when they say it as well. That's what I love.
Yeah, it should be a word on a quiz show.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And if you'd like to get in touch with Wendy, do so. I'll put some information out for her as well. And you can find this interview on YouTube and other social media. So lovely. Thank you so much then, Wendy.
Thank you. No, it's good fun. Thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.